was an interesting weekend of golf. Here to talk about it here for obviously a complete recap and more of the WM Phoenix Open. Jason Sobel, Action Network, Adam Kaufman, of course, Scottie Scheffler goes out, beat Patrick Cantlay in a playoff. But, you know, the real story, Jason, I think from the weekend is this is not typically what we see at a golf tournament between some beer chugging and loud cheering, mild stripping. This was different. What'd you think?
It is different. It's different every year, and we have to understand that it's going to be different. Look, I don't condone throwing beers on the 7th green at Quail Hollow. I don't condone players ripping their shirts off on the 14th at Colonial, but on the 16th at the WM Phoenix Open, it just seems to work 1 week out of the year in one hole, really, where it gets completely crazy. It's a party. It's a festival. It's a scene. And I love it. I've been going for years. I was there last week, actually played a little hooky on Friday afternoon and did the fan perspective thing. I wanted to actually see it from the stands and kind of get a sense of it. And quite honestly, it was just fun. It was a good time. I think a lot of people watching at home believe that most of the people there are fall down drunk and they're super sloppy. I was just hanging out with a bunch of the guys, a bunch of people had, beer in their hand, but, it's not like they were that drunk or that crazy or that, yelling crazy things or anything like that. It was just a lot of people enjoying the golf tournament.
See, I like that. A little bit of deflection. Don't look at me and my friends. It wasn't us. All those other people.
Yeah, exactly.
The times of their lives. All right. Well, coming up here, I don't know that we're going to get the same scene. Probably not at the Genesis Invitational, but I do know that Patrick Cantlay is going to be there after losing in that playoff to Scheffler. In fact, the world's top 10 golfers are going to be there. So we've got a pretty stacked field coming up. And as we know, you look at Cantlay here, 3 straight top 10s. He's playing some of his best golf that really we've seen in quite some time, maybe ever, obviously. And on the DraftKings Sportsbook, he is plus 1,000 odds to go out and win this thing. Can he get the victory?
I feel like all those reasons and explanations you gave for Cantlay playing really well, I feel like you read my preview this week. Yes, I'm certainly on Patrick Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay feels like he's on a mission right now to prove to everybody that he's the best golfer in the world. Now, I don't think he is. I think Jon Rahm is still the best golfer in the world, but I think it says something about him that he wants to go prove, whether it's to everyone else or just to himself, that he can indeed be the best. I don't feel like Patrick has played his best golf. For 3 days in Phoenix, we saw a hot putter, but the irons weren't quite there. And then on Sunday, his ball striking was fantastic, but the putter got a little cold. So if he can put it all together at some point, like you said, 4 top 10 finishes already in 2022, knocking on the door without his best stuff. That's a good sign moving forward. Back to his hometown in Los Angeles. This should be all set up for him at a ball striker's course. I really like Patrick Cantlay a lot this week.
As I mentioned, there are a bunch of studs that we could get into here, obviously, and behind Cantlay at plus 1,800 odds in the DK Sportsbook, you have the likes of JT and DJ and Morikawa. You got Hideki there. All these guys plus 1,800 or better, I should say. So do you have a favorite stud of the mix?
So, Adam, I will tell you that in my preview every week, I have at the bottom a player that I want to fade. Now, granted, the player that I'd like to fade is usually not a 250 to 1 long shot where I say, I don't think he can win this week. I usually like to pick out of the favorites and say, okay, here's a guy that I don't think is a good play based on his number this week. It took me to get down to about 40 to 1, 45 to 1 to find a player that I just didn't really like. And it wasn't even a player. It was Russell Henley. It wasn't even a player that I hated this week because, quite honestly, I look at all those guys with a shorter number and I say, yep, I can see that. Yes, I can see that. Yep, I can certainly see that. Whether it's Dustin Johnson, who's won here before and has a brilliant record there, whether it's Colin Morikawa, who seemingly should be a perfect course fit for this one. Rory McIlroy, who's sneakily played some really good golf lately. Hideki Matsuyama, there's a nice Augusta National Riviera correlation. All of these players tend to fit this week. All of these players you can look at and say, yes, I like them. So there's really not one that I can eliminate from this list. I'm starting to think Rory a little bit more. I think it could be a good year for him, but he's also the high ceiling comes with a bit lower floor than some of those other players as well. So it kind of depends where you're using them. Are you just betting them outright? Are you betting them in prop bets and matchups? So it depends where you want to go with these things. But yeah, there's quite honestly not a player that you could name on that part of the list where I'd say, nope, absolutely not. Don't like him.
Okay, let's see if your reaction is nope, absolutely not, don't like him, to Scottie Scheffler with these odds that we have on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Again, comes into this one having won last week in Phoenix. He's plus 2,200 to win this thing, but just plus 200 to finish in the top 10, which seems very reasonable. Would you go right back to him?
Yeah, so first of all, I like these prop bets this week because there's only 120 players in this field. So quite honestly, you only have to beat a lower percentage of that many players just to finish in the top 10, top 20, top 30, top 40, whatever the prop bet is that you're playing. So keep that in mind if you're betting props this week. Yeah, I like Scottie Scheffler. He's not only a really good player, now top 10 in the official world golf ranking, but he's such a level-headed kind of guy. I think a lot of players would win at the age of 23 years old, 24 years old, and maybe go have a little party. Hey, we're flying out to LA. Let's go do something fun. Let's go get crazy. And Scottie Scheffler, he's been married for a year and a half already. He's a guy that's very well-grounded, and I believe that he's just going to go out and play good golf once again this week. And so, I don't know that he's going to repeat and win for a second time in 8 days, but can he finish in the top 10? Absolutely.
This next tier, Jason, still huge names, obviously, on the DraftKings Sportsbook. You have Brooks Koepka, plus 3,500 for Blondie there. Jordan Spieth, plus 4,000. You also have Tony Finau up there at plus 5,000. So who's one of these longer odds guys that, at let's say between plus 3,000 and plus 10,000 that you could see making a run at Riviera?
All right. That's a wide range you just gave me right there. But I'm going to start by saying I loved everything and still love everything about Matt Fitzpatrick coming into this week. He's been 6th and 10th in 2 starts so far this year. He was tied for 5th at this event a year ago. He plays some of his best golf at harder golf courses where scoring is tougher to come by. Love everything about him until you guys at DraftKings came out with Matt Fitzpatrick at 35-1 instead of, I was hoping for 55-1. He's played too well over the last couple of weeks, so that number got shorter. Don't love him at that number, but I do love him for some props. If we want to go a bit further down the board, Joaquin Niemann is a guy that's got a tremendous amount of talent. He's, I think, a little mispriced. Don't tell the traders there. I think Joaquin Niemann's a little mispriced, right around 60-1, 65-1. This week. And so I think he's a guy where he doesn't have a great course history at Riviera, but he's still very, very young. Didn't have a great course history at Torrey Pines either, and yet went out and finished in a share of 6th place there just a few weeks ago. So if he can do it there, I believe he can repeat at Riviera. I like that number on Joaquin Niemann this week.
How about a real long shot outside these ranges that we've been talking about that you like?
Yeah, so this is going to be a popular one. I think everybody in the world is going to be on it. If he actually wins this week, the public is going to clean up because Francesco Molinari, as anyone who's been paying attention to golf prognostication this week knows already, moved out to California last year and has become a member at Riviera, plays a lot of golf there, practices there, and by all accounts, loves the golf course and plays it really well. So I had a buddy of mine, Ben Everill, who I do a podcast with through Golf Bet, works for the PGA Tour. He was out at Riviera recently, talked to some of the caddies, and the caddy said, I would bet my mortgage on Francesco Molinari finishing in the top 10. Now, I don't know if they actually have bet their mortgage or if that was just, I would bet my mortgage, but that is speaking volumes about a guy who opened it, I believe, 150-1 outright.
All right. Well, I wouldn't bet my mortgage on any of these guys to win. That seems like a lot, but maybe one paycheck on your winner for this event. What do you think?
I am going to bet your mortgage, Adam, on Patrick Cantlay this week. I just think he is certainly cruising in the right direction. He's trending. He is, granted, a bit of a chalky play coming off that playoff loss last week. He's second on the board this week. I get it. There's a lot of guys with really good numbers next to their names. You look at the number next to Rory McIlroy's name, the number next to Jordan Spieth's name, and you go, man, that's a great number. I think a lot of people are going to just basically bet these guys because the number is such a big number. And because there's so many good players here, everyone in the top 10 in the world ranking will be on site at Riviera. That said, at some point, you've got to pick a winner. And I just think Patrick Cantlay makes too much sense this week, back in his old hometown, a ball striker's golf course. If he gets that putter and the iron play kind of combination a little bit, I just think he's too good right now. This event means a lot to him. And Cantlay is my guy this week at, I believe, 10-1, opened at 12-1, and he has gotten a little bit shorter as the weeks progressed.
Jason Sobel, a man who can break down everything from beer chugging and mild stripping all the way to golf and odds. You do it all, my friend. Good to see you.
Can't wait to win on your mortgage this week.
Me too.